Dave Parody here with another slide makeover video podcast based on the ideas in my book, The Visual Slide Revolution. Today's slide comes to us from a slide that I was sent recently for a slide makeover in a workshop. And I've modified it a bit, but it's from a government agency and they're talking about a particular aspect. So let me take a look at this slide with you here. They're talking about public involvement. And they've got a couple of surveys that they have done in the past, and they are suggesting that citizens don't really trust the government because there's a low level of involvement in policy making or decisions. So they've got a bunch of these quotes from these particular surveys, but the problem is here. A couple things. One is there's a lot of information and there's different ways of showing it. Sometimes they say percentage, sometimes they say 7 in 10, and so it's not consistent. And secondly, there's a number of different points going on here. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to pick up on one point about that the level of trust in the government and whether the government thinks the people think that the government cares what they think. And normally what you would do is when you look at one of these slides and you say, percentages or shares, that would lead you to say a pie chart. And you could use a pie chart to do this. But I want to show you a slightly different treatment, a slightly different variation that will add, I think, some visual interest for our audiences. Let me show you what I did with this slide. You know, few citizens trust that our government does the right thing or feels that that we care what they think. In fact, in one survey, only 30%, 3 out of 10, trusted the government to do what is right most of the time, and a similar 31%, or almost 3 in 10, about the same one, think that the government even cares what they think. Now, what I did with this slide is you notice that I have used a universal symbol, and what I did is I distinguished the positive from the negative sides of the issue here with the green and red colors. Those are universal type symbols, and it's a universal type of difference between green and red in terms of go and stop. That's why we see that on stoplights. So what I'm showing here is a way to take a look at proportions or shares and use, instead of a pie chart, to use universal symbols. Now, this particular symbol that you're seeing here, I actually created that just using some shapes in PowerPoint because I couldn't find a piece of clip art or an image that I could use. But there are a lot of images that you can use other types of universal symbols. Let me take a look at this particular slide for you. There are other universal symbols, and these are ones I picked out just for examples for you that are all found in a font you already have on your computer, so you don't have to create anything. Thumbs up and thumbs down symbols, happy or sad faces, and then variations on check marks or X's. So you can use these universal symbols to show a proportion or share when it's a fairly simple proportion and there's really only two sides. So today's makeover, what are some of the lessons? Well, lessons when you're presenting a proportion or a share. If you have a proportion that includes people, in the case that we were doing, the reason that the people symbol was useful is because we're talking about actual citizens, so make it personal for them. Or you have only two sides to this particular proportion or share. Instead of using a pie chart, consider a diagram, because it can sometimes show much better than a pie chart would. When you have only the two sides, use some of these universal symbols. You saw some examples there that will be easily interpreted by people, and again, some people might like them better than a graph or a chart. If you don't have a symbol that will fit, as I couldn't find one, just create it. I just used a couple of rounded rectangle shapes and a circle and a body rectangle. It was actually quite simple to put that together once you knew what you were trying to create. And when you're putting the diagram together, group like symbols, meaning I put all of the green people together and all the red people together so that we see the difference between the two. If you are showing a proportion that's out of 10 or 100 or some simple number, then try to have equal looking, so it looks like a square or rectangle so people can easily distinguish the proportions. So when you have a proportion or share where it's involving people or only a couple of sides, think about using a diagram instead of the traditional pie chart that we would normally gravitate to. For more information on the book, go to www.visualsliderevolution.com. For more information on my training, consulting, and other resources, go to www.ThinkOutsideTheSlide.com. And for some great web-based training on exactly how do you create some of these great visuals, go to www.29minuteswithdave.com. This has been Dave Parody with another Slide Makeover video podcast.